We're back with another native legend today, and one tied close to my own stomping grounds. One that I'm surprised I've never heard until now. A native legend, a ghost story, a cryptid tale. Let's throw them all together. It's a fading legend and a tale of warning, one that isn't heeded very much today, and there have been repercussions for that. The natives tell us of a great beast, as strong as it is large. We'll hear about the people it protected, the terror it inflicted on those it didn't protect, and the spirits it left behind. It's a story that will keep me out of that area, because, wouldn't you know it, it's a freaking snake. Everyone loves a good, strange, weird, or bizarre story. Well, welcome to the American South, where dark legends and haunted history lurk around every corner. Where superstition, folklore, and a touch of backwoods magic blend with everyday culture. Some say, in order to survive. This is Dixie After Dark. Native legends and folklore run deep in the American South, and contrary to what previous videos on this channel may have led you to believe, they aren't all Cherokee, especially in the area where I live. Where I live, the predominant tribe was the Muscogee, or the Creek tribe, as many refer to them. The Muscogee were called Creek Indians by early settlers because they all lived near creeks and rivers, a nod to our previous video about the vast waterways in the American South. The Muscogee lived in southern Tennessee, western Georgia, parts of North Florida, and pretty much all of Alabama, where there is still a federally recognized tribe and its own sovereign nation. Alabama is covered with Muscogee history and heritage, and even home to the massive Creek Indian War of 1811, briefly mentioned in our coverage of the story of Eli Stroud, the original story of this channel and the one that laid the groundwork for Dixie After Dark. Signs of the Muscogee are still found everywhere in the state: pottery, arrowheads, village sites, maybe even the odd monster or two. And it couldn't get much worse, at least in my mind, than a monster snake. The tie snake, to be exact. A beast said to grow as long as the river or stream where it inhabits is wide. Alabama and Georgia's own river monster, described with large humps protruding from the water as it swam, told to be the size of barrels. The tie snake had a head and mouth large enough to swallow large fish completely whole, and some legends even have it catching and wrapping up deer, dragging them to the banks to eat. There's even a historical marker in Columbus, Georgia, on the Riverwalk at the Chattahoochee River about the tie snake. It reads, "The Creek Indians believed this section of the river was inhabited by a giant tie snake, a mythical monster that snared the unwary and dragged them down into the watery underworld." LaGrange lawyer W.O. Tuggle recorded many of these tales in the late 1800s. Joel Chandler Harris read Tuggle's collection, which formed part of the material out of which Harris fashioned his Uncle Remus stories. In fact, I found 2 stories from Tuggle's collection that had the trickster rabbit playing pranks on the tie snake. Both involve a tug-of-war match, the rabbit claiming to be stronger than the tie snake. The rabbit made the tie snake believe he would be on the other end, when in fact he deceived another beast the same way, so that the tie snake would truly believe the rabbit was as strong as he claimed to be. One story has 2 tie snakes on either end, and the other has the rabbit tricking a, quote, man-eater to pull on the other end against the tie snake, something descriptions lend me to believe is a large cat-like beast. And yes, many speculate that the native tales of a trickster rabbit, coupled with the trickster hare from African traditions that would have been told by enslaved people, was the groundwork for the character Brer Rabbit from the Uncle Remus stories. But the legend of the tie snake goes much deeper than those stories delve into. It seems to have been a water elemental, for lack of better description, and although the Creek Nation spread out across multiple states as I mentioned before, the stories of the tie snake all seem to culminate around the Chattahoochee River that makes up the border between Alabama and Georgia. The tie snake wasn't an individual creature in Muscogee lore. There were multiple ones spread throughout the area. These beasts ruled the deep areas of the Chattahoochee River and were honored and respected by the Muscogee people. And by all accounts, there was a peaceful, symbiotic relationship between the Muscogee and the tie snake. Apart from the stories involving the trickster rabbit, I only found one where the tie snake attacked a hunter, but it didn't kill the hunter. The tie snake was carrying the hunter away to, at least as far as I could make out, a sort of alternate dimension or spirit world. Perhaps the tie snake would have killed the hunter if it had not been interrupted by an alligator. Another story tells how the tie snake was a protector of the Muscogee people. This story also comes from Tuggle's own collection. A chief sent his son to deliver a message to a neighboring chief, giving his son his own personal emblem so that the neighboring tribe would know the message was true. On his way, the son got sidetracked, stopping to play with some other boys who were throwing stones into the water. The chief's son joined in, and amongst the chaos that a group of little boys can create, the chief's emblem was thrown into the water by mistake. The chief's son panicked. He was afraid to go to the neighboring chief without the emblem, and he did not like the idea of returning home to tell his father of his loss and failure to be responsible. So he rushed into the stream, and upon reaching the spot where the emblem had sunk, he dove beneath the water. The other boys waited on the banks of the stream, but the chief's son never reappeared, so they returned to their village and reported his death. But when the chief's son was beneath the surface of the stream, the tie snake seized him and took him into a cave. There, the tie snake told him, "Ascend yonder platform." The chief's son looked and saw that the platform itself was a moving, living mass of tie snakes, and seated on the platform was the king of the tie snakes. The young boy approached the platform and lifted his foot to ascend it, but the platform moved away as he lifted his foot. Again he tried, but with the same result, as well as the third time. Then the tie snake said, "Ascend." He lifted his foot the fourth time and succeeded in climbing onto the platform, and the king invited him to sit by his side. Then the king said to him, "See yonder feather? It is yours," pointing to a plume in the corner of the cave. The young boy approached the plume and extended his hand to grab it, but it eluded his grasp. 3 times he made the attempt, and 3 times it escaped him. On the 4th time, he was able to take hold of it. Then the king of the tie snakes said, "Yonder tomahawk is yours." The young boy went to the place where the tomahawk was stuck in the wall, and reached out to take it, but it was in vain. The tomahawk itself rose each time the boy raised his hand. He tried 4 times, and on the 4th time it remained still, and he succeeded in taking it. The king of the tie snakes then said, "You can return to your father after 3 days. When he asks where you have been, reply with only, 'I know what I know,' but on no account tell him what you do know. When he needs my aid, walk to the east and bow 3 times to the rising sun, and I will be there to help him." And true to his word, after 3 days, the tie snakes carried the young boy to the spot where he had dove into the stream, lifted him to the surface of the water, and placed his lost emblem in his hand. The boy then swam to the bank and returned to his father, who was mourning him as dead. His father rejoiced over his son's return. The boy told his father of the tie snake king and the message of offered aid. And not long afterwards, his father got word of an incoming attack. He said to his son, "You understand what the king of the tie snakes said. Go and seek his aid." The son put the feather on his head, took the tomahawk, and went to the east and bowed 3 times to the rising sun. There, the king of the tie snakes appeared before him. "What do you wish?" the king asked. "My father needs your aid," the young boy replied. "Go and tell him not to fear. They will be attacked, but they shall not harm him or his people. In the morning, all will be well." The son returned to his father and delivered the message from the king of the tie snakes. The enemy then came and attacked the town, but no one was harmed. Then night came, and in the morning they beheld that all of their enemies were each held fast in the folds of a tie snake, and so all were captured, and the chief was able to make peace with his foes. So, for the most part, the tie snake never seemed to be a vicious, man-eating creature of folklore. Well, until the European settlers pushed into the area. Early American settlers came to the creek lands of the Chattahoochee in the early 1800s, and almost immediately, the tie snake took to disliking them. Early Muscogee stories say that the tie snake was angered by the newcomers' boats, or, quote, smoking canoes, as the legends called them. Many, quote-unquote, accidents happened in those early years, and the Muscogee told settlers that it was the tie snake, the avenger of the Muscogee people, that caused these issues, and that if they didn't respect the tie snake and its domain, then the creature would forever lurk in the depths of the surrounding rivers and creeks, waiting for their times to pounce. Well, settlers listened about as well as you can imagine, and kept on pushing. Massive mills and industry cropped up in the area, utilizing the power of the river's currents. Many say that the tie snake retreated into the smaller rivers and creeks that fed the Chattahoochee, or either hid out in the various cave systems around the river. Others say that some remain, though, lurking in the deepest parts of the Chattahoochee River, still wreaking havoc to this day. And for anyone that's familiar with the Chattahoochee River and its reputation, that's easy enough to believe. For those of you that need a little more proof, though, well, perhaps the tie snake is satiated for a while. After all, there's a well-known bridge from Phoenix City, Alabama to Columbus, Georgia, that was known to be a mob hotspot for body disposal, so to speak. A lurking tie snake there would have had plenty to eat in those times. Or perhaps it just withdrew and waited, content with seeing the people turn on each other in a way. But what about the tie snakes that retreated from the Chattahoochee River? Well, at least one is known of. Lee County, Alabama has a story of a tie snake near Salem, Alabama, at a place known as Moffitt's Mill. Although the old grist mill is long gone, the name stuck, and locals today still refer to the place as Moffitt's Mill. The picturesque waterfalls and shallow pools have turned the area into a well-known swimming hole for locals. Moffitt's Mill sits on Little Uchee Creek, a sizable creek that flows down into the Chattahoochee River. Old-timers in the area warn against the place, though. The waters at Moffitt's Mill, with its deep pools and underwater caves carved out by the waterfalls for centuries, was known as a haven for the tie snakes by the early natives, and those stories filtered down to the early settlers and on for generations. For those locals that do not believe in the tie snake, Moffitt's Mill still has an unbelievable amount of death and disappearance that it has collected over the years, earning it the nickname the Devil's Mouth by some and Satan's Garden by others. The deaths and disappearances are labeled as drownings by most, but victims of the tie snake by others, because even though the place is a creek, a sizable creek, but still a creek, many of the bodies have never been recovered. Those accounts continued well into modern times. I even uncovered a news report from last summer of 2 drownings there. Some say that the combination of the power of the waterfall and the caves behind them create a suction that traps swimmers that get too close, sucking them beneath the waters and into the caves, and in some cases, forever, it would seem. Several stories have the claims that people jump from the rock outcroppings atop the waterfall and never resurface, ever. The caves behind the waterfall were known to the Muscogee as well, and they made a point to stay away from them. Muscogee legend tells of the spirits of fallen natives trapped in those very waters. Whether those are the result of the tie snake or simple accidents on the falls is a mixed bag, but either way, the waters at Moffitt's Mill keep them contained there, only to be joined by the next season's fatal accidents. Lee County officials have been making an effort to keep people away from Moffitt's Mill for quite some time now, but people, being the curious bunch they are, continue to make their way out there, even though it takes trespassing on private property to get there. The spirits trapped in Moffitt's Mill occasionally resurface, just quick enough to be seen before being taken beneath the waters once again. Curiously, this tends to happen more in the winter months though, rather than summer. Many photographers make the trek to Moffitt's Mill to catch the falls when they are swollen by our winter rains, or even better, by the rare southern snowfall. It has been at these times that reports of natives thrashing about, trying to escape the pools, have been told by terrified people. Some have even alerted the authorities, thinking it was a living soul drowning, but none are ever found. Not in that part of the year, anyway. Sometimes the spirits, native and modern alike, are glimpsed just beneath the waters, as if trapped, reaching out to passerbys for help. A second glance or disturbance of the water surface, though, erases those visions in the blink of an eye. On a larger scale, though, the legends of the tie snake have begun to die out in the local area. Thus, we have the effort of the historical marker in Columbus, Georgia, trying to keep those oral histories alive. But what if the stories die off completely? With no stories of the tie snake, there is no warning of the tie snake. Belief in the creature or not has little bearing here. A warning is a warning, and regardless of what you think of the tie snake or the spirits tied to the area of Moffitt's mill, the deaths are real, and the unrecovered bodies are real. If only there was a surviving tale outlining how dangerous those waters really are.